What is up, guys? My name is Matthew and welcome to my first ever vlog. I've been wanting to do this for so long. It's been a goal of mine, so I just said screw it and I went for it. And once I picked up this book, Bathhouse by P.J.Vernon, I knew this was going to be a great book to pick. This book is set in DC and we are given two perspectives. One of the successful Dr. Klein from a privileged Upper East Side Manhattan upbringing, and on the other side we have Oliver Park, who did not have that upbringing. He grew up with abusive family members dying. He has struggled with drug addiction throughout his whole life. And these two people are in a relationship. And the book starts off with Oliver going to a bathhouse. If you don't know what a bathhouse is something that gay men usually, and maybe still do, went to, and it's kind of known for having anonymous, promiscuous sex, and everything's low-key and no one speaks about what happens at the bathhouse. The story opens up with Oliver kind of expressing dissatisfaction in his relationship with Nathan, so he decides to go to this bathhouse. Once he goes to this bathhouse, he meets a guy who seduces him and takes him into a room. But once he gets in the room, things turn bad, and I mean bad. You guys, the first 50 pages of this are so intense. Like, I could not put the book down. It does slow down a bit, and there are a lot of question marks when you're reading it. There were parts of this book where I was like, what the heck is going on? But I will say that it concluded very nicely, and overall, this book is about class, abusive relationships, and how far someone will go to keep their secrets. As for ratings, I would definitely think it's somewhere between a 4 and a 5, probably a 4.5. It was really good, fast-paced. I was never bored, never considered DNFing it. I went through it. There were just parts where the characters in the book were doing things that no rational human would do, and it was very frustrating to read because any rational person would have done something completely different. Oh, that's Lizzie making an appearance. And it was frustrating to read, so that's kind of why I knocked it down a point. I will say it did wrap up nicely and kind of painted us a nice picture, and it has a good message, I would say. So if that sounds interesting, definitely pick this up, Bathhouse by P.J.Vernon. This vlog is going to document my thoughts throughout reading it. Like I said, this is my first ever time making a vlog, so it will look like a fourth grader made this. And you know what? I'm proud of it because I have never touched an editing software or filmed a video. So if you are interested in the book, please keep watching, or if you just want to see someone make an ass out of themselves with editing, stick around. Also, there will be spoilers moving forward in this video now. Okay. Y'all, this book does not play. I'm only on chapter 1, just finished, and it's already, like, it's jumping all in. This is not a slow burn. Okay, so we have a guy named Oliver, and he is cheating on his boyfriend, partner, Nathan, who's a highly successful doctor who seems very controlling, and, you know, he handles all the credit cards. We already don't like him. I don't know, I haven't met him yet, but I don't like him already. And, you know, we get to see the bathhouse, and he meets a guy named Christian with a K. I have a lot of questions about that, Christian with a K. Anyway, so he goes to meet Christian, and they go into a room to fondle, and things are going wrong. And I'm kind of concerned, and I think I need to pour myself a glass of wine, but I'm really here for it. Okay, let's go. Okay, I'm not going to keep checking in regularly, but I have to say we don't hate Nathan. We hate his parents. We met his mom. She's a real bitch. Everything she says, I read in a fake transatlantic accent, like a Moira Rose accent from Schitt's Creek. And she thinks that her son is too good for Oliver, and she doesn't trust Oliver, and, you know, they're Upper East Side Manhattan, and shit like that. Nathan sees Oliver as kind of a project, and because I think Oliver is a drug addict, or a recovered drug addict, and we have not gotten there, but I think that's kind of where we're going with it. But I just wanted to clarify, we don't hate Nathan, we hate his family. Okay, going back in. You guys, I just finished part 1. There is no build-up in this book. You were thrown in from page 1. That was the fastest I've ever read a first part of a book. I mean, it was only like 40 to 50 pages, but it was a fast 40 to 50 pages. You're dealing with Oliver trying to cover up his attack, or he got like choked, so he has bruises all over himself. And as I'm reading it, I'm catching all the mistakes he's making because I guess I'm a psychopath and I'm literally, what would I do? He's pretending he got robbed, so he's throwing his wallet away. And then I'm like, why didn't you throw your phone away? And then like that becomes an issue. And he keeps a picture from his mom, his only picture he has. He's making all kinds of mistakes, and it's like painful as you're reading. You're like, oh my God, you're gonna get caught. He's frantically doing this. He's also completely destroyed his bathroom because he took an Ambien and fell asleep and everything overflowed. So this beautiful Georgetown townhouse is flooded. So he has to deal with that. And it's literally a nightmare of 50 pages, and I am so anxious for him. And then the last page, he logs on to their equivalent of Grindr, which is a dating app for gay men where you meet up with people to have sex, usually. And the first part ends with, "Hi, Oliver." And it's Christian with a K! What the fuck? Oh my God. Okay. I just ordered Chinese food, so I'm gonna eat that, and then we're getting back in. This is a ride. All right, so I'm on page 100. I'm still loving it. I wouldn't say it's so fast-paced as the first 50 pages, but stuff is definitely happening. I'm not bored, but it's not as fast. We're also getting kind of a feel that Oliver might be an unreliable narrator, but I think that's kind of a red herring to throw us off. I'm not really sure, but we're kind of delving into his past and his dealings with his ex-boyfriend, dealing with drugs, how he's handling lying to Nathan, who Nathan kind of suspects that something's off. And then where I stop, Christian with a K is working on his house, fixing the flooded bathroom. It's all a little weird, and Christian with a K left a thumbnail of videos of him strangling other boys, usually intoxicated, which is weird because Oliver was not intoxicated in their situation. Like they were drugged, and then he like kills them before he like has sex with them or something like that. I don't know, but it's kind of weird. And he left this in their house, and now Oliver's freaking out. I don't know if this is gonna be like a psychological thriller where somebody isn't really telling the truth. I don't know where it's going, but it's pretty good. I wish I would have started this on a Friday because I have work tomorrow, so I can't stay up all night. But it's really good, and I cannot wait to finish it. Yeah. All right, it is the next morning. I was able to read a little bit more. So we find out that Nathan has known all along that Oliver has had Meat Locker, which is the equivalent of Grindr, on his phone. And he notices that Oliver deleted Meat Locker off of his phone. So that's a weird dynamic in the sense of Nathan's always known that Oliver's been playing around on Grindr, Meat Locker. So that's an interesting take. Also, once Christian with a K sent that message on Grindr, Meat Locker, Oliver decided to go to the police station where we meet one of the detectives. I already forgot her name. She sits down and takes the story and, does all the correct paperwork and everything. Then once Nathan comes back in town, he brings Oliver to the police station, and he has to tell the same detective a story that's a complete opposite, like, his fake story that he was mugged, as opposed to him going voluntarily to a bathhouse to have sex with a stranger. And the detective plays along, and Oliver's freaking out and kind of relieved that the detective didn't call him out for, filing two separate reports with two different stories. So that's interesting. Most interesting about this book so far for me is less about this guy, Christian with a K, but more about the dynamic between Nathan and Oliver, because something's off. Oliver is very reliant on Nathan, and Nathan kind of gets off on taking care of this a lot younger, recovered drug addict. It's just a very weird dynamic. And I'm honestly more interested in learning about that dynamic, less so than the potential issue that happened at the bathhouse. Did it happen? Because there's no evidence of it happening, apparently. We're going to get more into that. But I was able to get the audiobook so I can listen to it to my walk to work and maybe a little bit at work, just so I can get through the book a little bit faster. So I was able to get to part 3 of the book. I'm only on page 135-ish, chapter 23, and the audiobook has helped me because I was able to listen to a lot of it at work. But like I said earlier, the cop now has 2 stories, and this cop is kind of feisty, and she's doing a lot of investigating, reaching out to Nathan's family, trying to see if Oliver's reliable, reaching out to Nathan, kind of hinting that Oliver might be lying, and then we also have Oliver who went back to the bathhouse because the bathhouse told a police officer that They have no documentation of Oliver ever being there. They don't remember any of these incidents where he was almost raped or killed and ran out with blood on his face and all that stuff. They have no recollection of that. So Oliver decides to go to the bathhouse and figure it out himself. And at first, the front desk pretended like he didn't remember him. Then eventually he kind of says, okay, yeah, the owners of this bathhouse told me to pretend like I didn't know what was going on because they don't want any media coverage because they're from a different time where being gay wasn't accepted and they don't want any drama or whatever. So actually, it ended with, they went to a gay bar and one of Nathan's friends is there who's so annoying. It's so funny. The narrator, mom of Nathan, who I talked about earlier, who's a big bitch, literally has an almost fake transatlantic accent like I was describing earlier that I had never heard the audiobook, but he also gives her kind of a fake accent. It was really funny. But anyway, so I left it off where Nathan gets a message from Hector. I don't even know if I've talked about Hector. Hector's apparently his ex that we know nothing about, who was addicted to oxycodone and a lot of other pain pills, and that's what Oliver used to be addicted to. So we get a little bit of insight into their past and how they were addicted to pills, and Hector reaches out to Oliver saying, hey, I'm in town, let's meet up. So that's kind of where I am right now. Good morning. I am getting ready to go shopping at Target and Home Goods with my friends to spend money on things we don't need, one of our favorite hobbies. Hopefully I can get a workout in and then get back to reading.
I'm about to wreck my car. What happened? Oh, they're so fun. Like, those are cute. These are all the shades in my home. Thanks. Salted coconut hibiscus guava? Fuck. Smells really bad.
Last 3, 4 intervals because there is that 2, 1. This is number 2.
It's later in the same day. We had so much fun shopping at Home Goods and Target, spending money unnecessarily on things we don't need. But I do have a few hours to try to kick out some more pages, so let's go and do this. So I was able to get to the part where Hector shows up at Oliver's place of work, and they went to go get Starbucks, and Hector is now a pharmaceutical rep visiting DC, seems to have his life together. Honestly, it all feels really weird, and I don't understand what's going on. We also learn how Nathan and Oliver met. Nathan knew that Oliver was inpatient at the hospital, and Nathan was at the same hospital. And Nathan pretended like he didn't know that Oliver was there for drugs, but Nathan pulled his charts, being a doctor and working at the hospital. So it's weird that he kind of propositioned Oliver and kind of took him under his wing. It seems kind of creepy and stalkery, and I don't really understand, and their relationship just gives me the heebie-jeebies, if I'm being honest. I don't know if it's supposed to give me the heebie-jeebies, but it does. I don't like it. It makes me uncomfortable. And right where I left off, apparently someone broke into their house and let Nathan's dog, Tilly, out. So they don't know where the dog is, and someone broke in. They think it is Christian with a K. The cops are there. The cops telling Oliver that he has to tell Nathan the truth. I'm hoping there's a big twist. It just all feels so weird, and it's not making sense to me. But what's most unsettling to me is Nathan and Oliver's relationship, and I'm hoping the twist has something to do with that, because it's really making me uncomfortable. Lizzie.
Point, like, I don't know, it's just kind of boring me because it's like the typical like husband goes missing and then like, you know, they're just trying to find clues, and like it's just not very captivating, and like
So want to go swimming when I see this cover. I think it looks so fun and summery and fresh. Oh, I just love it.
I just finished. It was good. It had a good ending. I was really worried for a while. There was 100 pages in here where I was just like, what? And I was so not feeling or just not knowing what's going on, but it wrapped up nicely, and nothing to do with Christian with a K. It was more to do with the relationship of Nathan and Oliver. But I'm very tired, and I will do more of a discussion about this tomorrow. All right, it's the next night. I've had some time to think about Bathhouse, It was good. It was good. It was a good book. And I was right in the sense that I knew Christian with a K was not the main focus of this story. This story is a story about power, class, but how it unfolded was, in reality, Nathan was pulling all the strings. He was controlling Oliver from day one. He manipulated them meeting. He knew about the cheating. He had access to everything Oliver did. Anytime Oliver spent money, his phone got a ping. Anytime Oliver looked something up on Google, he had child protection on the computer, so he got notified. Everything Oliver was doing. When Oliver was going to the bathhouse, Nathan actually hired Christian with a K to scare him. He didn't know Christian with a K was actually a serial killer. Not a serial killer. Well, yeah, I guess a serial killer. And because he did actually kill people, but Nathan didn't know that apparently. And it ends with Nathan ends up killing Christian with a K, who was a prostitute. And Nathan brings Oliver to his family's, or one of the families, they're so rich, house in South Carolina. And there, Tom, sleazy Tom, who's also messaged Oliver on Grindr, Meat Locker, so there's just sketchiness with that. Tom has a new boyfriend. He brings a new boyfriend. And, oh no, it's Hector pretending to be Jeff. So all four of them, Tom, Hector, Nathan, and Oliver, are at this house, and shit hits the fan because Nathan's parents show up. At first, we think it's Nathan's mom who is actually in charge of everything, which honestly could have been a better twist, and it gave me a brilliant idea for a book. And I almost feel like this author might have thought of this twist, because a chapter where it shows Nathan, Dr. Klein, taking out fentanyl, like a serious amount, and we watched Dr. Klein take it all out, and it made it look like it was Nathan. It really was Nathan, but an even better twist would have been like we were actually looking at Dr. Klein, his mom, who was also a doctor. So it would have been a good twist what they were showing us. Not to criticize this book, because this book wasn't about that. This book was about power and how people control others through money. Oh, there's a beautiful quote that I think sums up this whole book. God, I am such a fucking nerd. But I saw it. I even put a little sticky note. Okay, so it says, threats, manipulation, gaslighting. One uses his fist and the other uses his lips, but the effects are the same. Complete control. And I think that was the whole message of this book, where Nathan was never a physical abuser to Oliver, but he controlled Oliver. It was an abusive relationship mentally. He gaslighted Oliver, he controlled Oliver, and he got off on it, controlling Oliver. And I think that was kind of the message of the book. It was really good. I think I'm going to give it a 4.5. There was this sluggish part in the middle where I just did not know what was going on. It was crazy. It did wrap up nicely at the end, but it's not a 5-star for me, but it was still very good. Also, P.J.Vernon's kind of a snack, right? I hope you guys enjoyed this vlog if you made it all the way through. I'm sorry for the terrible editing. I had so much fun making this, surprisingly, even though it looks like trash. Like I said, I wasn't making this for anyone. I was making it for me because it was a goal of mine. So if you did stick around, I hope you enjoyed it, and I plan on making more videos because I enjoyed it. For most of all, it made me enjoy the book more because it made me think more, and it made me really focus on what was going on, and I tabbed up this book, and I've never done that before, so it was a great experience. All right, guys, thank you. Say bye. Bye.